First we work on storing the list of 100 words in our board component, and to implement that first we need to know about components lifecycle. So what actually happens when an Aura component renders on a web page? There are certain events that are fired by the Aura framework itself just to give us an indication about a component's lifecycle. For example, when a component is initialized, which means all the attributes are initialized, then we get an init event from Aura framework. And when a component is rendered on the web page, then we get a render event from Aura framework. So we are going to use these events to actually implement our list of 100 words. So first I'll show you these events and how to handle them. To handle any type of events in Aura framework, you need to have an event handler. And this is just a single line that you need to add in your component. So first I'll start from the top, and here I'm going to have an Aura handler. Let me use handler here. So now to handle an event, you need to have a component called Aura:handler. And after that, you need to specify the name of the event that you are handling. Then the value, if you want to pass any value to this event, and then the action. Here in this action, you need to pass the JavaScript method that you need to call when this event is handled. So in this line, we are handling an init event, which is fired when the component is initialized. So that's why the name of the event is init. You cannot change it to anything else. You always need to pass this value to this event. Here this refers to this component itself, so you cannot change this as well. Now here in the action, you need to give your controller method name. It doesn't always have to be doInit. You can name your controller method anything else as well. Just make sure that this method exists in your controller file. So let's open our controller file for the board component. And here I'm going to have a method called doInit. And I'm going to add a simple console log here. And I'm going to add initialization complete. Now we can handle one more event, which is called the render event. So for that we need to have another Aura handler. So there is no limit on the Aura handlers. You can handle as many events in your component as you want. So now I'm going to handle the render event, which is again a standard event fired by the Aura framework itself. Again I'm going to pass this value, and here this means the component itself, so it's an instance of the component. And then the action. So here let's give our action as doRender maybe. You can give it any name that you want. Just make sure that this method exists in your controller file. Let's copy everything else and save it. Now here I'll mention render completed. Now I'm going to deploy this component, and we should see these two logs in our console. So let's clear our cache and reload the page. Let's open our DevTools, go to console tab, and we see two of our console logs printed here. Let me zoom in a bit so that you can also see it. First we see initialization completed, then we see render completed. So this means the init event is fired first and then the render event. Because at the time of init event, the web page is not rendered or your component is not rendered. In most of the cases, you need to handle this init event to do your automations at the time of component initialization. And that's what we will do in our code as well. When the component is initialized, then I'm going to build a list of 100 words. I'm going to remove the render from here, or maybe like I'll comment it, because I do not need to handle the render event. It was just to show you guys how you handle the render event. Now in the controller file, we are printing this log. After that, I need to build a list of 100 words. For this, I'm going to use my helper file, because as I said in my previous video, you need to put most of your reusable code inside the helper file. And building this list of 100 words, I think I can use that multiple times. So I won't do that inside my control file. I'll build that method inside the helper file. So let's open our board helper.js file, and here let's name our function as getWords. Now in this function, I'm going to build a JavaScript array. First, I'm going to accept a function parameter which I'll call count. Now we are talking about JavaScript here, so you do not need to define the data type here like we used to do in Apex. Here you can directly mention your parameter name, and JavaScript takes care of this data type binding behind the scene. Now in this count, I'll first check if the count is more than 100 or not, because we are only going to build a list of 100 words. So if count is greater than 100, then I'll simply return from here. I won't do anything else. But if that is not the case, then let's build an array of words. So we are going to use our let keyword to create a variable, and then I'm going to call our variable as words array. And here you can define an array using your square brackets. So it will be like maybe word1, then you can add a comma, and then you can define another element in this array, and so on. So I'm going to copy these words from my another file, and this will be a list of 100 words, and I'm going to paste them here. So here our words array has 100 words, but now our job is to check this count and only return the requested amount of words. So if the user is only requesting 9 words, so that means if he's playing an easy mode, then we'll only return 9 words from it. So let's do that. And to slice this array, we are going to use this slice function which comes with the array in JavaScript. So it will be like words array dot slice. And here first you need to give the starting index from where you want to slice your array, and then the number of elements that you want to slice. So here I'll pass the count, which I'll get in this method as a parameter. So now I'm making sure that I'm only returning the requested amount of words. Now in order to return this array, we need to use the return keyword, which we used to do in our Apex methods as well. Now we can call this method from our controller file, and for that we need to use this helper variable. So far we have only been using the component variable, but now since we want to call the helper files method, we need to use this helper variable. So it will be like helper dot the method name, which is getWords. And here you can pass the count. For example, let's say we want to request 16 words, or maybe something simpler like 6 words only. Then we can do that. And let's print that inside a console log. So that's it. Now let's deploy our code. Let's refresh our page. Let's open the DevTools and click on console. So here we should see our words list. So here our words are expansion, grandfather, nappy, oranges, bats, and quack. So since we have requested only 6 words, we are getting 6 words here. And these 6 words are the first 6 words. So it doesn't matter how many times you reload this page, we'll always get the 6 words. But this is not what we want to get, right? We want to randomize these words. So here I have a list of 100 words, but I want to randomize this list, and then only I want to return the requested words array. For that, I'm going to build another helper method to randomize my array words. So let's name this method as randomize array. And this function is going to accept an array which we are going to randomize. And I'm going to paste a simple algorithm to randomize all the elements in this array. You don't have to do a deep dive of this algorithm. You can find it anywhere on the internet as well. But what it does is it takes the array and then it randomizes it and then return it back. So here we are storing this array inside a constant variable. then we are iterating through all the items and then we are randomizing them. It's just like we are swapping these elements within the array itself. The randomize array method is ready. Now we need to call it to randomize our words array. So I'm going to add one more comment here and it will be like randomize words array. So I'm going to override this words array. So let's copy it and I'm going to call this randomize array method. Now to call this randomize array method, we need to use this keyword and then the method name, and we can pass the words array which it is requesting. The reason why I'm using this keyword is here this refers to this helper class. If you do not want to use this keyword here, then you need to accept the helper reference from your controller file, something like this. So here our getWords function is accepting a helper variable as well, which we need to pass from here. And then we can use this helper variable to call other methods of this helper class. So then you can remove this keyword and use helper here. But I prefer this syntax where I can use this keyword without accepting this helper variable from the controller file. So we have got our array, we have randomized it, and then we are simply returning it back to our board controller's doInit method. Let's deploy it one more time and hopefully now we should get this random list of words. So this time we have got different set of words, and if you reload your page again, we'll get another set of words because now we are randomizing our array before we are returning the output to our method caller. So now we have it sorted out. Our next job is to find this win word, and this word should be among the list of words that we get from our first method. So we'll do that in our next video.